Alright. Tonight's subject: irony and when it's not. I regularly come into contact with people who defend people with whom they're associated by claiming that when they're bad, it's just irony. Um, Now sometimes that's the case, right? If you have a long track record of doing something and then you do something else, that would be considered irony. That would be irony. Irony, by definition, reading from the Oxford definition of the word irony, which, I go by, and everybody who's being honest goes by. The expression of one's meaning by using language that normally signifies the opposite, typically for humorous or emphatic effect. Their example is, "Don't go overboard with the gratitude," he rejoined with heavy irony, implying that they aren't giving enough gratitude. A state of affairs or an event that seems deliberately contrary to what expects and is often amusing as a result. Their example: "The irony is that I thought he could help me." That implies that he didn't, but he could have, and this person thought he would, or thought he could have. Maybe he can't, and this person thought he could have. But the point is that it went contravening expectations. The third one is not very relevant, but I'll read it anyway. It's a literary technique originally used in Greek tragedy, by which the full significance of a character's words or actions are clear to the audience or reader, although unknown to the character. That's not really relevant here. What's relevant are the first two. And the reason I'm bringing this up, it's been a long day. I've had to breathe a lot of dust. The reason I'm bringing all that up is because regularly, when I oppose people being racist, I get pushback because it's only jokes. It's only irony. Just today, I'm not going to say who. I'm going to resist the urge to say names here, because if this person really is just being, really stupid with their optics and their messaging, etc., I want to give them a chance to respond, right? And I've even gone so far as to say that. I said, and again, I'd talk to her directly, but she blocks me. If you want to set something up, feel free, but I'm intentionally misrepresenting nothing, because this person was accusing me of slander for saying that this person, who only ever visibly opposed black people and never visibly supported them, was racist. Because, obviously, either they are, or they really want to do a good job of making people think they are. At least, people who read the server, which most people aren't going to give a shit, because most people aren't going to go in that stink pit. But at the same time, the stink pit, by the way, being Esoteric Entities server. I talked about him on another video. It'll be in the description. But the point I'm trying to bring up here is that in this regard, there are so many people in that server hurling hard R's and various other racial slurs, hurling various forms of bigotry. There's somebody in that server who's happy with having converted people to racism. This is not a place for, the occasional racist joke to be considered ironic. It's 100% in place there. Entirely. There is no irony in doing exactly what is expected. It's the same thing with a variety of other people. If all I see is you opposing black people and never supporting them on Twitter, on Facebook, any platform, I will assume you're racist. If all I see you do is oppose trans people, I'm going to assume you don't like trans people. Same with the rest of the LGBT QWERTY acronym. Like, I can't stress it enough that if you want to look like a racist, only oppose one race. If you want to look like a homophobe, only oppose gay people. It's real easy to understand, but for some reason, it gets me constant pushback. And I've got a theory about that maybe these people who push back against this just don't want to believe that about the people they like, and they're willing to ignore evidence in order to persist in those beliefs. That doesn't make them any better in my eyes, though. You know? It doesn't mean the situation is improved. And like when I brought this up in my server, when I had the audacity to say, this person seems like a racist, because of all these factors, the person claimed that I've misgendered people and not supported trans people. So clearly I'm a transphobe. Well, no, I actively support trans people. I defended one yesterday. I support multiple trans people's businesses. I've actively boosted their content, their messages. I've, called them by like he, she, or they, depending on which one they want. I've been heavily respectful of that particular part of their lives. Like, there can still be things that I criticize, but your core identity based on your phylogenetics will not be one of them. They're born that way. So I'm not going to hold it against them. But I will hold against them their beliefs, their actions, and their attitudes. And in this particular case, one of them only ever speaks negatively of black people and appears to never have said anything positive about black people before. I'm supposed to believe this person isn't racist. Why? Convince me. And the reason I'm bringing this up is so many times when I bring things like this up, people hide behind the word irony. That's not how irony works. If I have seen an established pattern in somebody of only speaking negatively of a race, and I see somebody starting to talk about something along the lines of race issues, I'm going to assume that that person is going to say something negative about that race. That's not irony. There's zero irony there. I'm getting exactly what I expect. It's like that Alanis Morissette song, where she lists a bunch of things that make her sound quirky, and then she says, "Isn't it ironic?" No, it's fucking not. There's nothing ironic in that song. It's just a bunch of wordplay, and then the word ironic coming after it. You know? Maybe call it quizzical. Irony is specific. It's concrete. You can point to the established pattern of one thing and then say, yeah, I expected this to continue, but I got something else. If somebody, for instance, with a long track record of anti-racist activism accidentally slips up and makes some sort of rude comment about a race, I'll be more likely to believe that it was a mistake. If somebody with a really good track record there has the occasional like racist joke, I'm not going to automatically assume that they are, because I know their track record. But if their track record is solidly and 100% opposing black people and never supporting them, I have no reason to believe that they're not. And it sucks, because so many of these people are in libertarian groups. So the first thing that people get in libertarian groups is it's okay to be bigoted. It's okay to be racist. It's okay to do all these things. And if anybody criticizes anybody, just shout irony until the critic shuts up. Well, I'm not going to shut up. Ever. You know? I've watched this for way too long. I've watched it on my Twitter, my Facebook. I still remember the time when I had the audacity to say that Holocaust denial is bad. And a bunch of people jumped down my fucking throat about it. Let that sink in. People who connected with a libertarian, theoretically on libertarian grounds, angry that that libertarian opposes Nazi death camps and is willing to stand up for the historical record of those having existed, and maybe try to learn from that history and prevent it from happening again anywhere ever. That guy gets shit on by a bunch of libertarians. Really? This is what we are? And it's not just that. It's a bunch of just casual racism and other forms of bigotry all rife throughout the movement. And so many of these circles just think it's fucking hilarious. And you know, maybe they are just joking. Maybe they really don't get how shit these optics are. But I also put some other stuff in this conversation, right? I put down the fact that if this person wants to be seen in a better light, she should put herself in a better light. Nobody else's responsibility to view her favorably. Same with anyone else. If she doesn't want to be viewed favorably, congrats. She did it. You know? And I also brought up that, you know, people can tell jokes that they agree with. I brought up, for instance, Stanhope is a libertarian and includes libertarianism in his routines. George Carlin was atheist and used atheist comedy. Racists can use racist comedy. This seems obvious. In fact, I still remember for a bit there, the Daily Stormer had a guide and it was trending because multiple outlets had covered the fact, and this is documented, that their advice was to slip your way into people's subconscious with things like humor. So you make jokes that try to normalize these ideas and circumvent people's logic and get them laughing and in a positive mood while you basically brainwash them. Now, the person involved here was a teenager when I met them, like 16 years old. This is what they claim. They also claimed that somebody I tried to push out of libertarian circles for a very long time until I mostly succeeded, even though this person is still in some of those libertarian circles anyway, because people are bitter clingers, or they don't like me, or they don't like criticism, or something, or because they actively support pedophiles, which is what this person was. When I tried to root them out, I failed in some circles because of those things, but they are out of most of them. But the person in question, who's being racist, thinks they were groomed by this pedo when they were like 16-ish. And that would make sense, but it would also mean that their prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed, and I can't 100% hold them to the same scrutinous standards to which I'd hold an adult. But at the same time, I can still point out the bullshit. I see nothing ethically wrong with pointing out the bullshit. And in this case, the bullshit is fucking thick. People could tell I would be ironic if I made a joke like, America, love it or leave it. Or, when are we going to finish that wall? Or, glass the Middle East. If I said any of those things, people would know I was being ironic because they know I hate people who say that normally. Because they know I oppose that. Because they know I have a good track record. I don't have that track record with these people. And neither do any new onlookers who didn't know them before. Who think that it's very normal and very acceptable for people to be racists in libertarian circles. Or racist libertarians, which is an oxymoron. I'm exhausted. I spend a significant amount of my time fighting these fuckers, and it's an uphill Sisyphean fucking battle to try and get some goddamn decency. This is not how we win. Like, there's that old argument that if they can't take these kinds of circles, they can't take a fight against the state. And fair enough, but if this is all these circles produce, how do they know that when it comes down to brass tacks, you're on their side? You've got their six. How do they know that they can trust their battle buddy? They don't. They have no reason to believe that this isn't just a group that's going to stab them in the back. So they still seek that institutional power. The state is preserved by libertarians' unwillingness to manage their image. And it sucks. By libertarians' unwillingness to accurately understand history, to accurately understand how much they have in common with the sides. By failing to accurately represent themselves and then complaining later that their inaccurate representation was held against them. Yeah, it fucking was. In what universe would it not be? Oh, I was just pretending to be retarded. I was just pretending to be racist. I was just pretending to be homophobic. I was just pretending to hate X group or to, be opposed to Y and Z. Were ya? I mean, with some people, they have a good track record. It can be seen as irony. With other people, it ain't out of the blue at all. It's totally what's expected. And when you develop that track record, it's on fucking you to shoulder the consequences, nut up, and accept that you made people think this of you. I'm a fucking asshole. All the time. I'm rude to people. I dismiss their feelings when they don't work with logic. I have an extremely hard time shutting the fuck up, partially due to a bipolarism and a hypermetabolism that I refuse to medicate. I'm a fucking mess, but at least I admit it. If people would start from square one and admit that there's things that need to fucking change, that'd be fucking swell. But I have this weird fucking feeling that that's not gonna fucking happen. Because too many people are entrenched. Too many people have too many in-groups that they're too unwilling to question because they're too scared to be removed from that in-group. And they're too scared of what it would mean to truly be alone with the truth. And that's what I'm terrified about. I'm terrified that too many people don't want to be alone with the truth, so they band together for fictional lies. Most people don't like me. Most people aren't willing to talk to me. Fine. I'm an extrovert. I'd like to. I talk where I can, but I'm also not going to give the fuck up for numbers that are only temporary until they find out how repulsive you are to their ideas. Compromise, man. It fucking eats people. We shouldn't have to compromise our principles. We shouldn't have to compromise our ethics. We shouldn't have to look the other way. We should be the most accountable people on the fucking planet to prove that we don't need a government to hold us accountable. So that the masses can recognize that, yeah, you know what? These people got it handled. Let me do what they're doing so that we can get rid of these people I already hated. Most people don't fucking like the government. They just think they have to have it. They tolerate it. They're indoctrinated from cradle to grave to believe this is necessary. You know? They hate the system. But why would they join your side if it looks like you wouldn't be on theirs when it counted? What reason do they have to believe that? This is why I'm so happy that a significant chunk of the Boog movement is anti-racist, anti-sexist, LGBT friendly. As it fucking should be. True populism is realizing that everyone down here is struggling the same fight and refusing to lose just because of petty divisions. And it is exhausting how many times I've had to say that. But I'm going to keep being fucking tired because I don't have anything else to do but push my back up against this fucking rock. No matter how many times it falls back down and crushes me. Because I've been through the ringer. I've been slandered, libeled, shat on in every direction. These people do not like me because I'm willing to shine a light, not only on them, but then back on myself, admitting that I'm fucked up too. You can't use that against me. You can't say you can't say I say I'm perfect, because I don't. But there's a difference between being imperfect and working on it, and being imperfect and using your humanity or your flaws or irony as a snow for it. Especially when you don't actually know what irony means. We have to do better. We have to be better. We have to be an alternative, not the same shit. Because if we're not an alternative, what the fuck are we? Statism, but not doing anything to support the state? Yeah, pretty much. We're just feckless statism. That's why the Libertarian Party always loses. Because it's feckless statism. Instead of real revolutionary change. Instead of doing anything. People are trained to fucking do nothing. And this is why nothing has been done. You can think that you have progress because you got 4% this year, this next election cycle, rather than 3% or lower like you always have been. But ultimately, libertarianism is going to fail because people aren't willing to push for its success. They're not willing to shake up the in-groups. They're not willing to knock some heads together. They're not willing to say, hey, you, the person I do like, here's what's wrong and why. Most people, if they saw the back alley and thought that that literally was what represented libertarianism, would never touch us again, would never come to libertarianism again. And a lot of them haven't. Some of them are in that server. Like the white nationalist Black Spruce. We're talking about very serious shit here, and it's time to stop hiding behind rantsonas and online edginess and actually do shit. No matter how much it hurts. And it does. It hurts knowing that hundreds of people who I used to look to as allies have ditched me. It hurts knowing that a significant amount of them did it because they believed libel and slander, or because they didn't want to disturb their in-group. It hurts because I don't have any reason to believe that anything I said has been wrong, and because they don't take the time to prove me wrong. Probably because they can't, and they don't want their own Sisyphean task. So meanwhile, I'm going to keep saying what I'm going to say. And I'm going to keep getting pushback, hatred, illogic, smears, slams. But I'm going to keep fucking saying it. And hopefully someday have enough income to physically support those communities who need it. Because I already give them shout-outs. I already try to be as supportive as fucking possible. But that's not good enough for some people, because what they really want is for me to totally agree with them. Not gonna happen. I'm the most aggressively negative person on Liberty Twitter, and that ain't gonna fucking change. Not ever. In fact, I plan to get worse. I made that warning at the beginning of the year, especially since, I'm starting to be mass censored. Somehow people who want authentic unity and oppose the divisors suddenly are split off from the group. Ha! Wonder why. But hey, you know what? One of the things that I've realized over the time that I've been doing this is that my chief accomplishment is being a slow-acting poison. Seeping my way into the cracks and exposing these vulnerabilities lets people see them. And eventually, they might decide that they want to walk away too. That I was right. Those are the moments that I live for. The vindication. The realization that maybe they sided with the wrong people. And maybe I'm not the wrong people. So, here's to that. Cheers to never giving the fuck up ever. Smash the fucking state.